You know my story, right?
My name is Paul Berger. I am a part owner of Apex Hauling. We are a junk removal, moving company. We're a small company based out of Chester County here. My business partner Kyle and I, started this in February 23.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome, man. So what were you guys doing prior to this?
We were doing quite a lot. I think just a lot of life events led up to this point.
Absolutely, yeah.
I actually, him and I met through like charitable things that we both were doing at the same time. We got to talking about, just stuff and interests we had. And then, funny enough, we both had been working in the moving industry to some extent. I grew up in that industry. My family has celebrated 100 years of a moving company.
Wow.
Started in Marcus Hook and all that. So, I have that in the family. So since I was 14, I've been around this.
Yeah.
And himself, he had worked doing, furniture fulfillment, delivery.
So all the same elements you guys are doing now. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically it goes on a truck and someone's got to pick it up and put it in the house. So kind of like, those things we had in common. And
our worlds aligned a little bit too. A couple of years ago, I had a discount warehouse. So I was buying overstocks and then I was doing like vintage stuff and everything, but I was hooking up with haulers because I was like, when you're cleaning out houses and stuff like that, I wanted to go through and they would come by and they would bring the truck by and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? If somebody wanted to go through, and I was always like, my dad, I always grew up with one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
And like, that's exactly like I grew up, and that was in my head growing up my whole life. When I started that business, people are always like, man, nobody ever has to see our stuff. I'm like, I know you guys got good stuff in there.
Dude, I won't be here for hours if we even go down that route. I'm serious. We didn't want to just start a moving company either. We wanted, we had met on the premise of helping people in the extent that we were at that time. And, this is kind of like, how do we provide this in a way that ultimately helps people? But beyond just, where do you want the fridge? Yeah. Where do you want the couch?
Yeah.
We build in a lot of other services like, junk removal, donation, pickups, things like that. We work with a lot of, nonprofit extensions. One in particular is here in Chester County. And you can call your other name brands. You can call 1-800-JUNK or College Homes or any of them to come and pick up, the stuff you don't want. But we try to make it more more sustainable by saying, okay, this is what you don't want. How can we make it cheaper for you and get it to a family that's in need, So that's kind of where that kind of work. And then, in the other things we do too, it's
interesting.
It's a lot.
When you go in, yesterday I met with CMG Landscaping out here, and a young guy, 24 years old, started this landscaping company that started when he was 13. And when I was talking to him yesterday, it's what you're talking about as well as where he was going. He's like, I don't want to just come and mow somebody's yard. And he was asking, we were talking about like different ways of how to be more authentic when you're in, and not that you were being disingenuous with the intro discovery meeting. And the simplest thing of like, when you're out there and you're mowing, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to set the job up. We got everything measured out. And then he's like, and then I started the job. I'm like, how about you do one last thing? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, ask somebody why they want you to do this. And he was like, well, what's that going to tell me? I was like, well, it could be because there's a family reunion and there's a sentimental reason. And it could be because somebody there, or it could be just they want to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And then from there, who your client is.
Yeah.
And I think like for what everybody's doing, it's so cool to see service-based businesses like yours that aren't just going through the motions and they'd be like, okay, we're just going to stack them high, watch them fly and call it a day.
Right.
And so talk a little bit about when you guys are doing for what types of jobs do you guys get brought in for? Obviously it's probably more than just residential moves and things like that.
It started out, we'd started just like in a conversation of like, hey man, we should start doing this. I mean, our jobs had led us up to a point where we weren't going to be working with them anymore. We felt kind of at a dead end, and we picked up, just little stuff like going around to storage units and leaving our information and saying, hey man, like, we get a lot of that stuff. But to be honest, like, I can't really sit here and pinpoint a situation or a demographic or a type where we get uh, brought in because, we try to make ourselves as accessible as possible, just as on the basis of like, hey, like we get this as hard work. We want to do the hard work. We actually enjoy it and call us to do it. And we're going to do our best to help you out too. Like, for example, though, like I would say one particular instance though, that I do think is specific to us is, dealing with, any type of, um, how is this? Like any circumstances around hoarding disorder, any persons that have amassed an unreasonable, unmanageable amount of stuff, just living in unmanageable ways, we have found ourselves being like in a pocket that's very, like, people have come to us specifically for that because I think we have those connections to charity, to service work, and to just that kind of like seeing value and stuff. And like just last week, we finished up a fairly large undertaking of an entire house whose family or whose residents were, inflicted by dementia, things where they had to, they had to seek housing elsewhere, and people are just left with stuff. And what do you do? So I would say, like, I would say I'm happy saying, like, hey, like we are prepared. We're experienced in dealing with that. We also can pick up a piano for you if you want, but also, like, if you're looking for that why, like, why would you pick us? Well, because, like we have, and these aren't my words, but like we have collected quite a lot of testimonial information about, like, hey, like they came in and they made a difference here. And, you see people improving their lives and things like that.
That's the thing is like, there's a lot of, like, the cool thing about what you're with moving or moving anything like that. It's a change, and a change has stress. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where I've moved a lot. And two times I used a moving company. Those times were horrendous. And I'll never forget I never forget how horrendous it was and how much it ruined that initial week and like of being in the new house. And I want to bring to light what you're talking about is the fact that you guys approach this from an empathy standpoint. And I don't mean empathy like you feel sorry for somebody. I mean empathy like what you're doing is going to change their life. And whether it's their choice to continue changing it, that's on them. But you are a part of that really tipping point, pivotal moment where, for somebody that might have a debilitating disease like that, where they can't even begin to take things out, and they've lived in a cage in their own home, for you to be able to free them from that, there's power in that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny enough, like people see us either as the good guy or the bad guy in those instances. And I would much prefer the good guy, but we have definitely been the bad guy, according to some people. Or, I guess, like, we've been in instances where, like, we have to watch where we are, but it really comes down to the person as far as that. And that is a gift I consider, like, to be something very, very invaluable, to have helped someone get to that point where they're willing to make changes, willing to, to make that. And basically we're here as, all right, what do you need? What do you need done? Like, let us be of service to you, So, like, that to me is very, is pivotal in like, coming home from a long day and thinking, like, all right, like, back on that experience, like, all right, like we did, this was worth it. You know what I mean? But it's tough to be in a service position too. And, like to know where, where your powers lay, but, I think, that's, like I said, that's a conversation that can go further, so far down. But, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to be able or we have the resources, because, we build this on, like, just your standard house to house moves or standard junk removal jobs, whatever, that helps fund something so that we can have those opportunities to really, like, hammer down some really, like, some very significant.
So absolutely, man. And I want, in closing, I want just to reiterate, make sure everybody understands, like, Apex Hauling. You heard it right from him. It is, you guys, I mean, I met you earlier and stuff like that, and I meet people all day long, and I travel around the country, around the state, everything like that.
Yeah.
You meet people, you shake their hands, you can tell right off the bat if they're legit or an asshole or anything like that. And I'm like, I can tell you what, I've been with a lot of haulers in my day, and you are unique. And I compliment you guys. And I compliment you on everything you said about the nonprofits and everything like that, because, like I said, you're going in somebody's home, that's an intimate thing, and it's good to have somebody that really gives a shit about what they're doing. So, and that's awesome, man.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. And I just will say this, like I'm one person, I don't think this could work without it there being in us, like, we do things, my business partner and I really spend a lot. We spend like most of our day like around this, but I have, my girlfriend, in there, just putting hands on stuff and getting, working hard. We have people who come in and show up. So it is, it's a we.
That's
very
all,
much a we.
And that's also your girlfriend's involved too, man. That's really important from the home life and everything like that, to have somebody that's supported and vice versa and stuff like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for giving us
absolutely, man. I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
We're on Instagram and Facebook and all that. You can tag us.
Yeah.
If you have a great story or know someone that does, check out our website at thefreemindpodcast.com and submit your story today or nominate a friend. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Keep listening.
You know my story, right?